Getting through hard times. Has any of you had to go through getting hard times? Let's talk about the going through really the toughest of times imaginable. Ego perceptions. Jennifer and Donald Willingsley in Northeast England had messaged me asking me to talk more about, in this week's podcast, going through tough times and when we're self-critical on ourselves, and then when we're also self-critical towards others only because we're so self-critical on ourselves. And that was a good point that they had. And then there's Pamela and David Struthers of the Ireland area, Northern Ireland. And that's funny because I have a good friend named Stuthers without the R. And through all, and he's a great golf buddy of mine. And, for years we were playing together. And, when they would call us to the first tee box to play golf, they would say the Struthers group, because if he put his name as the one in charge of getting the tee time, that's who they'd call. And he would always say, it's Struthers, there's no R in there. So it was kind of weird and coincidental that, this couple had messaged me from Ireland saying that they're the Struthers. And so I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, we're going to talk about the ego's perception and going through tough times and, being self-critical and so much more, like different principles that are contained from the Course in Miracles that we're going to touch on a little bit. And someone else had mentioned me too about, the Holy Spirit's function and really what is that, and the power of the mind, and does meditation exercises really work? And so we're going to get into that as we kick it here for a little bit in this podcast for 20 to 30 minutes. If I go to 30 minutes, that means I really went overboard. So I try to get this podcast done in 20 minutes. So if you're looking at your schedule and you're kind of like, how long is this going to take? Well, so there so I'm going to, all my podcasts on Mondays, by the way, I try to get it done in 20 to 30 minutes, maximum 30 minutes. But hey, everyone, for those of you that do not know me, I'm James Nussbaumer, and I'm the author of a great series of books that I'm so thrilled with. It begins with The Master of Everything. It's a story of mankind in the world of illusion we call life. And then its sequel that I'm also so proud of. Well, I'm proud of all my books. They're like my children, these books. And the second book, the sequel, is called Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom, Lessons from A Course in Miracles. And book 3, as I speak today on January 8th, 2018, is done. The book design is on its way to me to sign off on. Publishers are slow. I mean, they are so slow. But I don't know if it's that the publishers are slow, because I got a great publisher, Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. But I heard that all publishers are slow. But I've also heard that comment from other authors where we talk and gather. Say, hey, is your publisher slow? Yeah, hey, so is mine. Hey, what is up with that? But you know what? That's the way publishers work. But it might be in the author's mind because we're so anxious to get our books out there. You know what I'm saying? That maybe that, they're not slow. Maybe we're the ones that are too anxious. Well, who knows about that? Anyways, getting through tough times, getting through hard times is something that, everyone has experienced. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, can you think of the toughest thing you've ever been through in your life? For those of you that know my story, the absolute toughest thing I've ever been through, ever in my life. Oh my God, it was terrible. 8 long years in a state prison over the foolish securities violation, as a financial advisor for 25 years. But those of you that know my story know that, so I don't want to be redundant on that. And for those of you that don't know my story, it is in the first 2 books. I really describe it in detail what happened. And in the third book, I can't say too much, but I will say that it is, it wraps up a trilogy, and it is just a kick butt taking names kind of book. I am so thrilled with that. Pumped. I can't believe that I still get pumped. I'm 60 years old now. How am I supposed to be 60? I'm not supposed to be 60. I'm still supposed to be 42. I'll take 42. You know, of course, when I was 42, I said, why am I 42? Why aren't I 32? But here I am, I'm 60 now. Oh my, yeah, most of my 50s was spent in a state prison. I went in there at age 50. I was sentenced to 10 years for this terrible, overtly with capital O, overtly political 10-year sentence dished on me where I should have never went to prison, but everyone agrees of it. And so, you know, I can talk about it now, but I don't dwell on it too much. I just want to let people know that it was so overtly political. And I'm not a bad guy. You know, it was over some money, and the money was paid back, but an old angry judge sentenced me. If you guys know me, you're probably getting tired of hearing about that already. But hey, that's what went down. So anyways, it's all behind me now, and I'm letting go of that. Of course, I got to admit, I still have, you know, dreams at night of that, you know, all that horrible thing. And I was in a prison with, you know, some pretty, you know, bad cases. In state prisons, there's no white collar. You're thrown in with everybody. So anyways, but when we're getting through tough times, or like with me, hard times, 8 years is in a state prison, let me tell you, is hard, with a capital H and a capital A and a capital R and a capital D. Hard. Being in a state prison is hard time. So, but I'm not asking for a pity party here. So for those of you that are listening and think that I am, don't think that. I'm just trying to, you know, get a point across as we go on here about how when we let go of the ego, we can rise above these adversities. So let's get on to answer the questions of the people that were so kindly to, you know, message in. But, you know, but when getting through tough times, like I said, you know, often the darkness begins to define who we truly are. It seems like when we're stuck in hard times, you know, and it brings on only more darkness, and serious problems usually accompany those darkened feelings and thoughts that you're having. Learn how the power of mind, the oneness of the mind of God that A Course in Miracles teaches, which is so brilliant and so practical to understand, but still in an abstract way. The oneness of God, which is the light that you truly are. And is there to fulfill the life that, you know, that we really truly want to live while we're in this world. And it, you know, if you can connect with that oneness of who you are to your inner core, only you know who you truly are, you know. And by the way, at my blog, there's a great system that I recommend. You'll see, if you go to any of my blogs, you'll see a picture of Albert Einstein. Click on that, and there's a video there that you know, may help you to overcome, you know, life's adversities if you're having trouble with that. But, you know, your own ego-based perceptions or choices that you make of what you wish yourself to be. You know, the world that you wish to live in is really up to you, and the state in which you think your mind, not your brain, your mind, in the state that you think your mind will be content and satisfied is totally up to you. Your mind is who you are. Your brain is of the physical body. And we've been through that in previous podcasts too, so I won't dwell on that. If you want to know more on that, then, you know, check out my previous podcast or dive into my books. You'll find out there. But this is why the ego-based mind, that's why the ego that's in all of us likes to judge a book by its cover. This judging of others dictates how you feel safe. We only think. Really, do you feel safe when you judge someone as being less than you, or you judge someone by their problems according to the way you think things should be for them? You know, that's a problem that we all have. Believe me, I've been facing that with some people close to me, trying to dictate to me what I should be doing. So, but it reveals yourself to you as you would choose to be, which makes the ego, so the Holy Spirit in you can kind of like, if you can tap into the light in you, it uncovers, it uncovers the ego and makes the ego have no choice but to look at your bright light that you are, the light of who you are. And the ego has nothing to do when it looks at your bright light. It might try to put sunglasses on at first, but then that's not enough, and it just eventually fades away. But it can't fade all the way away, because as long as we're in this world, as humans, we are an ego. And that's another subject in book 1 towards the end. Boy, I really touch on that. I think you'll love it. I really hope that if you haven't read my first book, that you'll just get it, because I think you'll be addicted to what I'm writing about. It's just terrific. I had one person in my family get so upset. Oh, how dare I? She was just, I think it pinched her ego a little bit where she couldn't stand it. You know what I mean? By the way, here's a related article that I want to recommend to you at my website, at my blog. You could just type in personal challenges by more clearly understanding the subliminal mind. So anyways, however, the ego perceptions always reflect confusion. Actually, they don't reflect anything. The ego doesn't know how to reflect. It assumes. The ego likes to assume and project confusion and indecisiveness, which keeps the ego holding the reins to feeling separated from that light that you really are. And where getting through tough times seems what you always have been caught up in. I hope this makes sense, because if it doesn't, then look at it this way. You are the means for God's will, which is your true free will, not separate, nor with life apart from God's. Your true free will, because whatever it is you really want in life, whatever it is you really want in this world, that's God's will. So if you are denying that and you are not pursuing what it is you really want to do, and you're listening to the naysayers that are trying to tell you what you should do, then you're only just listening to ego, and you're taking in more ego, and your life till you go to the grave is going to be nothing but ego. So what you have to do is not listen to other people unless you have someone you trust that understands this whole concept I'm trying to talk to you about. And that could be the Holy Spirit coming through in somebody else, trying to help you along to uncover the ego and let the light shine through. When I say uncover, I'm talking about the ego being cloud cover. And when you get rid of that cloud cover, all there is sunlight. The holiness that you are is the frame for each aspect of your creator. Now, what I mean by that is you and your brother/sister. I don't mean in your family that you were brought up in, your siblings. I'm talking about everyone around the world. In their mind, not their bodies, we are brothers/sisters. Brothers/sisters. We are connected as one. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that you and your brother/sister, in traditional terms, we'd just be saying, your brother. But with modern day times, we grow, and females want their gender put in this too. So we're going to say brother/sister. So, when you and your brother/sister, parentheses, every human being who ever existed here now and yet to arrive, yes, even those ones that have not arrived into this world are your brother/sister. And you might not even meet them ever physically, but you are still connected with those even that haven't arrived yet. But that is the frame that is surrounding the one portrait that is of the one mind. It's a portrait, or we could say You know, the maestro in an orchestra, an orchestra that never, goes away, but it someday wakes up and realizes it's never left home. But anyways, that's in another podcast too. So let's talk about, there is a radiance in you. There is a radiance that shines through each body that the ego cannot recognize. Yes, there's something in you that is radiant and luminous, that shines, that your own ego can't even understand. And then when you're thinking that way, in that luminosity way of thinking, when you feel like, man, I'm really, all of a sudden the ego comes in, boom, and tries to take you away from that stupid thinking. As Zig Ziglar would say, stinking thinking. I love Zig Ziglar. Anybody know Zig Ziglar? Anyways, this radiance is seen by others who will accept it or allow their egos to turn away in confusion. And what I mean is, the ego, because it is confused, wants to hide the light and puts up a veil, so to speak, to keep it separate from the face of Christ. Oh, the face of Christ. What is the face of Christ? Envision right now, as you're listening to me, what is the face of Christ? Are you envisioning Jesus? That's great, because I do too when I envision the face of Christ. But maybe some people that don't believe in Jesus, believe in Jesus, but don't believe that he is the Christ or whatever. Maybe they have a stronger inclination towards Buddhism or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. Christ is just a word. But I was raised Catholic and as a Christian, so when I hear the word Christ, I immediately envision the face of Jesus, which is okay. I'm just using the word Christ as a term that means total one-mindedness within our Creator. And that's what Jesus was here to teach us, which I talk about in previous podcasts. So you have to look that up. Can't dwell on that here today because we got to move on. So let me repeat that. The ego, because it is confused, wants to hide the light and puts up a veil to keep it separate from the face of Christ. So the face of Christ is whatever you can picture as oneness and love, because love is total oneness and wholeness. So, since you believe you are separate, we all do. We think we're separate from God. And I say God, if you are someone that talks about Allah or Buddha or whatever, that's okay. Please continue listening. I use God, like I said, and I'll say it one more time, because I was raised to use the term God, and it's easy, and that's what I stick to. So I think you get my drift. And if you don't understand my drift right now, where I'm coming from, then you probably need to either read my books or maybe not read my books. Anyways, with the separate understanding, well, let's back up. Let me just say that since you believe that you are separate, since we all believe we are separate from God somewhere out there, which really God is not out there, he's within us, it's who we are, heaven presents itself as being separate too. That's why we think that heaven is somewhere way out there beyond the stars. It is even seen as having a gate. Yes, a gate. We even in our minds have been taught to believe that heaven has a gate. And to add even further to this separateness, this separate way of thinking, this ego perception, to even add more to this, with this separate understanding, the link has been given to you that you may not reach heaven's gate, and that you might, the tough times you're getting through might keep you from reaching heaven's gate. Haven't we even been taught that there's a gatekeeper standing right there at the gate, St. Peter? You better do what you're supposed to do in this world or you'll never get past St. Peter. Well, I'm not ridiculing anything. This is just a way of thinking that was intended right-mindedly to teach us to be good, because we're all trying, but we're growing as humanity is growing. We're coming together more as whole. So please, if I offended anyone in this, then I just maybe have bruised your ego a little bit. And by me saying that, may bruise your ego a little more as you think about it. Well, you'll heal as you continue to hear what I have to say. This is why I urge you to seek out mindfulness meditation exercises, or serious prayer. I'm going to give you one here as we wrap up, words that you can think about. Christ and God have never been separate from us, from who we are, and never will be. Christ abides in your understanding, in the part of you that shares God's will. Yes, you share God's will because you are God's will. So whatever it is that you want, you really, from your heart, need to do while in this world, that's God's will. And if you're denying that, you're living with the ego. The Holy Spirit links the other part of the mad, insane little desire to be separate. Just a little part of our mind, of the wholeness that we are, that chose to split off and separate, so to speak, which is totally explained in book 1 of the series called The Master of Everything. And The Master of Everything, you'll have to read it before you find out who the Master of Everything is. But I think you'll probably get the punchline as you get towards the end of that book. But Christ abides in your understanding, in the part of you that shares God's will. Excuse me as I take a sip of coffee here. Yes, I meant God's will. We talked about that. What is God's will? The Holy Spirit, which is the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit of God, we can say, links the other part of the mad little desire to be separate, special, and different from Christ. It links together. In other words, the Holy Spirit brings the darkness, helps the darkened thought that you have draw to the light. The light is the Holy Spirit in you, and as darkened thoughts and the darkness in you draws towards the light that you are, the darkness fades away. How simple is that? We try to make things so difficult by analyzing the darkness too much and looking way out there for a distant light to save us. No, the light is within you. Just open the light, open your heart. Let the light shine and let the darkness come towards you. And as the darkness comes towards you, the light will make it fade away. Light puts out darkness. Please note that also, if you're confused on this, I've got a related article at my blog that will tell you about how to overcome the feeling of being trapped in darkness and escape from the darkness. I think might just, if you get to my website, just key in the word. If you go to jamesnussbaumer.com, you can just go / escape from darkness. Because my blog, I've got many hundreds of articles now, and they're going every day. We're just thrilled with how we're exploding here. But the Holy Spirit serves Christ's purpose in your mind. And I think when I say Christ's purpose, you know what I'm saying. The wholeness that we all are as God's child. The Holy Spirit serves Christ's purpose in your mind. So that is the aim of specialness that, cannot be corrected where there is error. Specialness is just going to specialness is just something that means, oh, he's special. No, if there's wholeness of mind, no one can be special. I mean, we're all whole, we're all together. So if you see someone, you as yourself, to me, to break it down a little bit, if you see someone as special more than you are, then you're thinking from ideas of lack and scarcity mindset. We are all whole. It's just some people know how to live more in the light rather than in the darkness of the ego than others. So if you see someone that's doing things that upset you because they're doing better than you towards their true free will, towards what they really want to do in life, if they're pursuing that, and you're upset with them because they're doing that, and they may not be doing it the way you want them to do it, but they're doing their true free will, you're operating from darkness then. Because trying to keep them in darkness, the same darkness that you're in. Does that make sense? I hope so. Because the Holy Spirit's purpose is still one with God and the Son in traditional terms, which is Christ. We could say daughter if you want. It's just a word. We've been through this before in a previous podcast. Listen to it or read my book, why we come up with the Son of God. But the Son of God is the wholeness of mind as God's child. The Holy Spirit knows the will of God and what you really want. Yes, the Holy Spirit knows what you really want, because it's the Holy Spirit is God's Spirit linking to you while you're in this world. That's it. And I hope you will replay this podcast and listen to this over and over again, because I think this is just very enlightening. But events will then, if you can understand this, here's what will happen. Events will start being arranged for you, and getting through tough times will be gone. Yes, cause and effect will take over. Things will start being arranged. But this is, and cause and effect is in another podcast too. Can't go into that right now. But this is understood by the mind, that is aware that it is of total oneness. And so is experienced as truth and knowledge. It is the Holy Spirit's function to teach us how this oneness of mind, this wholeness, is actually experienced, and what we must do and where we should go so it can be experienced. For example, the circumstances that caused you to come upon this podcast, or to come upon my book, or to come upon my blog, or whatever it is that sent you to this podcast. Something sent you there, and the message you are receiving and still listening to me must be kind of sinking in a little bit, because you're still listening. It's not because of me. It's because of the Holy Spirit that is in me and you as one, and you're sensing the light in me, and you're feeling the light. We're connecting our lights together. The light. And that means oneness. There's only one light. We're connecting to sunshine, I guess you could say. And that's also in a previous podcast. So we have to move on. And I hope this is good food for thought. And I hope it's I don't want it racking your brain. Because if it's racking your brain and you're trying to analyze all this, all you're doing is getting back into more ego-mindedness, dark-minded thought, trying to dissect everything like a mathematical project. And that won't work. Sure, the people that study mathematics, I have nothing against that, are great, and the true doctors of mathematics, the true mathematicians, understand the spiritual essence of mathematics. It shows them how to, believe me, I knew a doctor of mathematics, a mathematician, and he knew how it was a spiritual thing. And he used mathematics to get closer to his light, to the center of his light, to light's center. But, all of this takes note of time and space. But, regardless of whether you are not aware of the Holy Spirit's workings, you did experience its message by being here and listening so far to this podcast. All of this, like I had said, brings up mention of time and place. Somewhere there was a certain time and there was a certain place you were at that led you to click on something, some kind of link to get to this podcast. And so while we think that we are apart and separate, that we're really not whole, I think we can really, truly, if we go to the center of the light of who we are, we know that we are totally one. Hey, it is apparent that a mind so split could never be the teacher of oneness, which unites all things within itself. And therefore, if you can think about what I just said, what is within this mind and does unite all things together. It must be its teacher with a capital T. In other words, therefore, whatever's bringing you to unite with someone, for you to link with me or me to link with you or for whatever, it must be something within you that brought you there. It's the number one teacher with a capital T, the teacher, your inner guide, the light of who you are, the link between you and God. It is the Holy Spirit. And it doesn't take a lot of meditation and prayer to realize it. All it takes is for you to accept that who you are, accept who you are, and get rid of darkened thought. Hey, I have to get going here. All of this can simply be reached to a simple understanding of some words I'm going to give you that I have borrowed from A Course in Miracles. Now, I know a lot of times I say The Course in Miracles, but it actually is A Course in Miracles. And I want you to remember these words that I will use myself in prayer in the morning, at prayer at night, or meditation in mid-afternoon, which around 2:30 in the afternoon, I like to do a 20-minute meditation. And I've got different things, but these are words that are one of the most popular that I'm going to share with you. And here they are right now, real quick before I got to go. Here are the words. What is the same cannot be different, and what is one cannot be separate parts. Now, I'm going to repeat that, but before I repeat that, I want to keep in mind that prayer should be simple and meditation should be simple. All you're trying to do is reach a calmness, reach your inner state, light's center, the light of who you are, the Holy Spirit, which is the link between you and God, your true free will, your life of purpose. That is light's center. So once again, I will repeat these words that I use in meditation quite often. What is the same cannot be different, and what is one cannot be separate parts. Hey everyone, I got to go. I hope you will sign up for the Everyday Miracles newsletter, which can be found at my website, jamesnussbaumer.com. I also have a mastermind community that I urge you to check out. And by the way, please follow me on Twitter. I just love Twitter. I am big on Twitter. Facebook, I have a page at Facebook, and I have a personal page. Like my Facebook page, and also join me on my personal page at Facebook. Also at Google Plus. Google Plus, please sign up there and be a part of me. And check out my website. Check out what I have to write about. Buy my books. And I will be at a conference coming up soon. And that schedule will be posted at my website under, what am I calling it now at my website? Just appearances or something like that, or keynote speaking, I think it's under. So anyways, I wish the best for you. And I hope you're thinking a lot about your own life and how whole you are with all of humanity when you think that way. Doesn't that make life a lot easier for you? And know that you got to just let darkened thought fade away, kind of like fog in the morning. Let it fade away. Let the sun come in. The sun that shines, the light that's in you. Let it shine away. All that ego-based nonsense that's keeping you from living the life that you really want to live, regardless of the naysayers that say, no, you can't do that. Does that make sense? I got to go. Hope to hear from you. Message me. Oh, as always, at my contact page at jamesnussbaumer.com. Thanks again. God bless. I got to go.